Hey there, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today I am bringing you a card that I made for my dad's birthday. It uses a fairly simple color palette of black, white, and green, as well as a number of die-cut pieces all put together with a little bit of embossing and stamping for a fairly simple result. I start out with an A2 card base. It's just a white cardstock card base, and on top of that I am going to layer some pattern paper. It is from the Heidi Swapp 6x6 September Skies paper pad. Part of what I wanted to do with this card was combine pattern papers, and paper pads certainly make that easy. So all the pattern paper I use is from this pad of paper. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, then I'm going to cover up that sort of black piece on the left with this die, which is my favorite things, chunky Chevron cover-up die. So it's going to go like that. That black piece was the inspiration for the card. It has some star constellations on it, so that gave me the idea for the shimmery stars that you will see on the card. I also die cut a couple of circles in 2 different sizes out of some additional pattern paper, and that little circle gave me the green idea. I cut those from the tattered lace circles dies that I've got. The large one is 2 7/8, and the small one is 2 inches. And you can see that little one has a subtle little green X pattern, and then the smaller one has some black and green chevrons. And then I cut a star die out of the Paper Tray Ink Coffee Cozy Details die set. I cut that star. It is like a stitching die, so it cuts little stitching holes, which I didn't intend to use for this, but added a nice little effect to that star. So I did think that the black paper, although it has some cute constellations on it, I thought it was a little plain. So I decided that I was going to shimmer it up with some Heidi Swapp Color Shine Spray in sheer. This does dry clear, but it does give it like a kind of shiny gold cast when the light hits it. And I just shake the heck out of that spray, and now I'm going to give that paper a pretty good coat of that shine spray. And the effect ultimately is pretty subtle. Like it's a little hard to see once it's covered up with that die cut, but it's there. And the stamp set I'm using is the Simon Says Stamp Happy and Smile stamp set. I'm using that big scripty Happy, and then there's a tiny print birthday that I will combine to create a very cute birthday greeting. And I am going to heat emboss that Happy. So I'm grabbing my anti-static tool here, and I'm going to wipe that all over the circle so that it will help prevent embossing powder from sticking to parts that it's not supposed to. And then I'm inking up my stamp using Versamark ink, and I'm going to stamp it in the upper 2/3 of that circle because I knew I was going to overlap it with the other circle. So I wanted to keep the gradient towards the upper part. And now I am taking some black glittery embossing powder, and I'm going to coat that all over the Happy because I wanted to have like a shimmery sparkly effect on that word. The embossing powder I am using is called Black Hole. It is from Creations Unlimited. I did get this years ago at a scrapbook expo, so I don't think it is available anymore, unfortunately. In the supply list that you can find below in the description, as well as on my blog, has a link to an alternate sparkly black embossing powder that works just as well. And so there I'm taking this kind of ratty old toothbrush that I've got, paintbrush, and just cleaning off any little bits of black that may have stuck somewhere they weren't supposed to stick. And now I am going to start heat embossing this, and I'm going to grab my tweezers to lift it off the background, because when I find that if I lift it up, things emboss faster than if I leave it down. So you will see me kind of pull this off screen a couple times because I am kind of nearsighted, and I also have a hard time telling when glitter embossing powder is done, and I didn't want to burn it, so I had to pull it close to tell. But I got it done, and now I am going to just stamp that tiny little birthday. Embossing it wouldn't have worked because it's so small, so I'm just going to stamp it in some Memento Tuxedo black ink right underneath that Happy, and it creates just the cutest little greeting. To adhere everything together, at least to adhere that chevron cover up to the front, I am using some iCraft 1/8 inch adhesive tape, and I'm taping it kind of down those straight paper edges. In hindsight, it would have been much smarter had I used some Stick It or some other kind of large double-sided adhesive on the white piece of paper before I die cut it. I think that would have been much wiser, because you can see I have to kind of adjust that tape a little bit to keep it from spilling over into the openings that have been cut in that piece of paper. And even though this tape works just fine, I think if I had turned the whole thing into a big sticker, it would have been easier. So that is my advice to you if you are going to be using this kind of a background die for anything. And there's a little bit of it. You can see a little bit of that shine spray on that black paper. And I'm taking my ATG gun now, and I'm just going to adhere that panel onto the front of that A2 card base. The die is a little bit smaller than an A2 card front, so you do get about 1/8 of an inch reveal all the way around on the card base. And even though it's white on white, it does give it sort of a subtle dimension. It's a nice little detail. So now I'm going to take those circles and kind of try to figure out how I want them to be arranged, especially that smaller one with the chevrons, because I wanted those little chevrons to work well with the big chevrons on the back. And I decide on that. So I'm going to take some ATG adhesive, and I'm going to just on the little top of that little circle, and I'm going to adhere it to the bigger circle to make one big piece. And now I'm going to use some foam adhesive to adhere those two pieces to the background. And I did that for two reasons. First off, I did it because the background is a little busy, and so I wanted to create some separation between those circles and the background. And then also I wanted to bring some attention to that happy birthday greeting, because, you know, on a birthday card, isn't that really the most important part? And here I take my green star, and this is when I realized that it is just doing nothing for the card and it's pretty boring. So I grab my Wink of Stella clear marker and I sparkle the heck out of the inside of that star, and it makes a huge difference. I'm just going to town there. I leave the edges plain, but I go from those stitch dots inside, and for such a tiny adjustment, it made a huge difference. It really it made the star seem special, and then it also helped bring attention to the little birthday word that's stamped under happy that could otherwise get lost on that, you know, with all the patterns that are going on there. And so that sparkle on that star made a big difference. It was a huge improvement. Now you can see I've got sequins there on the right, so I knew I wanted to add some sequins. However, this is a card for a man, so I didn't want to go nuts on the bling factor. So I went and found, I guess what you would call, I don't know, the most masculine color palette for sequins, if there is such a thing. So I used silver, gold, and metallic black sequins on this card, and I, as always, take a long time to arrange them. So I've skipped forward to what winds up being the final arrangement here, and once I corral that last one, you will see how they wind up being adhered down using some Ranger Multimedia matte adhesive to the front of the card. And I finish off the inside with a stamp set from Penny Black called A Sweet Day. I stamped the greeting in, again, Memento Tuxedo black ink. And then there is a cool star stamp that comes in that stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that down using Ranger's Electric Lime dye ink. And it does a really nice job of bringing the color scheme as well as the star theme to the inside of the card while still remaining fairly simple and straightforward. And there's a good look at the overall finished card. You can see a little bit of that shine spray up in the upper right, and you can see some of the dimension and the pattern papers going on. Here's a good look at the inside of the card. Again, very simple, but it does carry the theme through as well as the colors. And there you get a little feel for the shimmer on the star as well as a little bling that those sequins added. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. I always appreciate it. You can find more from me at my blog, blacksheep303.com. If you liked the video, it would be really awesome if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you are interested in hearing more from me, please subscribe to my channel. I do come out with YouTube videos regularly. As always, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment, suggestion, idea, thought, anything in the comments box below, or you can shoot me an email on my website through the contact form. Thanks so much. Have a great day.